So yesterday we have seen uh, about this Linux and its history, how it has been created, right? And then how Linux has been named and all we discussed. And today let's discuss the concept called distributions. And once we got the clarity on the concept of distributions, then we'll go and then installing the Linux. How we can install is what we will see, and then we go for the Linux architecture and all commands and all. Let us start. Fine. So what is Linux distribution basically? So yesterday we have seen Linux is an open source. Basically, Linus Torvalds written the kernel, right? Which is not able to written by the Richard Stallman in his GNU project, right? So that's the reason. As Richard Stallman was not written the viable kernel, the student Linus Torvalds, university student, he written the kernel. While writing the kernel, he used many tools that were written by the Richard Stallman, and these tools were published as part of the GNU project. So that is the reason, as this Linux kernel, while writing, he used the many of the tools given by this Richard Stallman. This Linux kernel is also called as GNU Linux kernel sometimes. So it is common for us to see Linux bound to other initials like GNU. So sometimes we also can see Linux as a GNU Linux. So now let us see the concept of these distributions and then understand.
GNU?
So GNU is an open source project which was created by this Richard Stallman. GNU is the name of the project. GNU stands for GNU's Not Unix. Its full form is GNU's Not Unix. So that means what? Richard Stallman started this project to create the Unix-like operating system, but to made it as an open source. Whereas Unix at that moment was not open source in 1980s, 1970s. And Unix is not able to download and then modify because proprietary has been taken by the AT&T labs. So in response to their proprietary and all, in response to their proprietary source and all, Richard Stallman decided to create an open source Unix-like operating system. So he started for that the project called GNU. GNU meaning GNU's Not Unix. That is the full form of the GNU. Okay, however, now what is this distribution? So once after the open source kernel is written by the Linus Torvalds, then the bigger companies started downloading the Linux kernel and then started writing their own operating system. So those are called as the distributions. So as Linux is an open source kernel, Linux kernel is an open source. Kernel meaning main core processor of the operating system, main core, right? So for example, if like your mobile devices and all, the motherboard and all are the core of it, isn't it? Similarly, operating system is also one of the core part in it. But to communicate your motherboard and then your graphical user interface, so operating system is there in your each and every mobile. So what I mean to say is, when the core part is available, using that core part, anyone can build the body around it, isn't it? Like when you go to vehicle manufacturer's plant, like bus body building unit, or maybe lorry or whatever the heavy vehicles construction part, if you can see, they will first build the engine, once the engine and all will be assembled, then the top and then seating, these are all on top of the main engine they will construct. That means core part is available, so you can do anything with that core part around it. That is the same concept here. So since Linux kernel is available, so many companies started creating their own versions of Linux by using the open source Linux kernel, because that is the core part which is available for download, modify. So bigger companies then started writing their own versions of the Linux by using the Linux kernel created by the Linus Torvalds. So they are called as the distributions, not operating system. These are called what? Distributions. Distribution meaning what? From the core Linux kernel, if anyone will modify it and then create their own version of the Linux operating system, then that is called as a distribution. For example, our ATM machines, mobile phones, computers, all these are with the distributions only. Why? Because they were modified or they were customized Linux operating systems. If you can see your mobile devices, your operating system should be as much as lightweight and then mini. Correct. That means what? Lot of code might be assume the Linux operating system. If the mobiles will take any other Linux operating system, assume 1,000 lines of code is coming. But to your mobile, it requires only 100 lines of code. That means what? You need to build one distribution which is suitable for the mobile devices. So like that, if we customized the Linux as per our needs by keeping the Linux kernel, then that is called as the distribution. So we have several distributions are available nowadays in the market. Listen carefully, this part is very important because a lot of you members have a confusion like what is CentOS, what is Ubuntu, right? So like that you might have the confusions. So just carefully observe. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL. So we know Red Hat is a very big company. So Red Hat company have a lot of products like JBoss server and some virtual OpenStack, and then the virtualization manager. So these are all the products that were developed by this Red Hat. So Red Hat people thought that why can't they test their product on a dedicated Linux machine, and the clients who purchase their product, why can't they run these products in their operating system? So for example, I purchased this OpenStack from the Red Hat Linux. Then what they will give, they also give me a operating system, RHEL operating system, Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system, they will give me. What I can do, I can install that operating system. On top of it, I can install this OpenStack. So no issues will come while testing this OpenStack product because they were well tested it on the RHEL product, RHEL Linux actually. What I mean to say is, Red Hat company created their own version of the Linux called Red Hat Enterprise Linux by using the Linux kernel created by the Linus Torvalds. And these Red Hat Enterprise Linux, whatever they created, is now called as a distribution. Why we are calling it as a distribution? Because this has been created, this has been customized by the Red Hat on top of the Linux kernel that is created by the Linus Torvalds, isn't it? So that is the reason this RHEL is said to be one distribution. This RHEL is commercial actually. It is not open source because this Red Hat spend a lot of money in customizing the creation of this RHEL operating system distribution. So they made it as a commercial. So we need to subscribe for it by paying it. Otherwise, we will never receive any updates. So it is the paid one. So that is the reason this Red Hat people also thought, in addition to this paid one, they also thought to give one open source, free one. That is what CentOS, Community Enterprise Operating System. So RHEL is one distribution, but which is a commercial. Similarly, Community Enterprise Operating System, CentOS. So CENTOS, that means CentOS, Community Enterprise Operating System, that means CentOS. So this CentOS is the community version of the RHEL. That means free version of the RHEL, where RHEL is a, well, RHEL is a commercial one. So in order to use the commercial one, we need to pay. But this RHEL also is given as a open source, that is with the CentOS distribution. So nowadays, everyone is using the CentOS distributions. Most commonly used distributions is the CentOS. So this is also maintaining by the Red Hat software only. So Red Hat is maintaining one Linux operating system distribution, which is commercial. Second one is open source. Both are maintaining by this one only. Right. So next is what? Microsoft. Microsoft also started building their own operating system for their products. So Microsoft also created their own distribution from the open source kernel. That distribution is called what? SUSE. Microsoft SUSE. And similarly, Microsoft also maintaining one open source one. So SUSE is commercial. The open source version of SUSE is what? OpenSUSE. So which follows the same features of the CentOS, but which is suitable for the Microsoft products. So SUSE is commercial. OpenSUSE is an open source. Which are the distributions of the Microsoft? Similarly, there is one more distribution called Debian. So Debian is 100% maintained by the community people only, meaning it is fully free, and maintaining by the community people like you, me, who are interested, right? So like we all become a one group, and then those group of people are contributing to this Debian Linux operating system distribution. So this is one of the oldest distributions we have in the market. And also lot of servers are using this Debian distribution. So it is very stable, reliable, and frequently used by the companies and other common users also. So this using Debian, again, the Ubuntu distribution is prepared. Using Debian, the Ubuntu is also prepared. So Ubuntu, this distribution was made in Africa by the company Canonical. So the Canonical company first distributed the Ubuntu operating system through the CDs all over the world. And these CDs are best suited to install the Linux operating system in the desktop machines. You remember earlier we have the desktops only, right? Way back in your college days, maybe nowadays all the people are having the laptops, but at the time of your college days, or at least my college days, we have the desktops only. So what we used to do, we need to purchase one CD, that is the operating system CD, and we need to run it in our desktop machine to install the operating system. Similarly, Ubuntu also, they also have done the same thing for the Ubuntu. That means the Africa people installed this Ubuntu as the CDs, and the CDs were distributed over the world for the desktops purpose. But later on time, they created the software which we can download from the internet and then can be able to install as well. So Ubuntu is the most used distribution for the desktops. And for the servers, CentOS is the mostly used distribution. Now you may have a confusion. Sir, what is distribution? Sorry, what is desktop? What is server? You might have one confusion here actually. What is server and what is desktop? You said Ubuntu is the most used distribution for the desktop, and CentOS is the most used for the servers. So what is desktop? What is server? We will discuss desktop versus server in a moment of time. But if you can see here, this is what we are discussing. This is the Linux kernel written by the Torvalds. This is the kernel written by the Torvald. So using this kernel, Red Hat people prepared their own Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system distribution. And also they are maintaining the open source version of it called CentOS. And similarly, community people developed the distribution called Debian, using which the Ubuntu also has been created as one of the distribution. And similarly, Microsoft people created the commercial distribution called SUAC. And they also come up with an open source distribution called OpenSUAC. So from this discussion, what did you understand? If you are a programmer, if you're pretty much interested to build the applications, and if you know the the programming languages, you can also download the kernel, and then you can also create your own distribution, like how the Gaint companies were created their own distributions. So what is distribution? When the original kernel is downloaded and modified to create our own Linux operating system version, then that is called as a distribution. The same definition I have given in my document as well. Right? So now what is a distribution? Distribution and then operating system. Linux operating system and then Linux distribution. Linux kernel. 3 terms we are using here. Don't confuse, please. Linus Torvalds created the kernel, Linux kernel, right? And this Linux kernel has been downloaded by the companies, and then they created their own version of the operating system. But that is called as a distribution. Distribution. That is called operating system only, but it is we call it as a distributions basically, because it was customized on top of the existing kernel. So that is from the distribution side. Now we got to know, now we have the various distributions like Red Hat, Debian, Ubuntu, CentOS, SUSE, OpenSUSE. Then you might have one question, sir, which distribution we have to use? So always we will use the open source Linux distributions. If that is the choice for us, open source Linux distribution is the choice for us, then what we can go, either we can go with the CentOS, either we can go with Ubuntu, either we can go with the OpenSUSE, isn't it? These are all the famous distributions and being maintaining by the top companies. You might have one question now, sir, why we need to go for it? Some other people also might have created the operating systems, right? Meaning the distributions, right? Why can't we go with them? Yes. So there is a person, that guy created the Linux called Kurumin Linux. So the persons like you and me also create the Linux operating system distribution, but the people won't use your or mine Linux distributions. Why? Because see this Kuraman is one Kuraman Linux is one distribution created by a Brazilian programmer, Carlos Marimoto. So this is the guy who created the Linux, Kuraman Linux. And we even can get this Kuraman Linux in this link. So let me try to hit this link. And unfortunately, this link is, meaning unfortunately, this is not there. Why? Because, creating the software, Kurumin Linux. This is the Kurumin Linux. So this Kurumin Linux is the distribution created by a Brazilian programmer called Carlos Mintos. His name is Carlos Marimoto. Unfortunately, what happened, he stopped updating these distribution, because in order to maintain this distribution, he has to purchase one server, and on that server, he need to maintain this, isn't it? For example, if you want to keep your documents, what you will do? You'll store in your Gmail drive or your Gmail drafts. Assume if your Gmail draft is not opening, will you go and then put your files there? No. You have the confidence that the Gmail will definitely make sure the Google Drive will be always up and running for you. That means Google Drive is an application to always open to you. That Google Drive also need to be installed on some server. Na? That means Gmail need to pay for that server, isn't it? So it is a heavy maintenance. But Google is a gained company. They are managing it. This Carlos Monto is an individual person. He was not able to manage this Linux distribution. Its maintainability cost and all, he was not managed, and thus he was not maintaining it now. What I'm telling is, we also can download the other distributions as well, but there is no guarantee that those distributions will always there for us to get the updates from those distributions. The people like you and me, we are very small, right? We definitely not able to maintain such kind of things. We are very small. So if I tell you I was created a Linux operating system, please use my Linux operating system. If I tell you like this, and you have started using it and you have installed it on 100 servers, later I removed that Linux, then where you will go, right? Your 100 servers will be again reinstalled with the new operating systems. So these are the problems. That is the reason most of the people would prefer to go with the renowned and famous distributions only. So that is the reason either we can go with the CentOS or Ubuntu or Debian or OpenSUSE. So these, either we can go with these. And in these, Ubuntu, CentOS and OpenSUSE, which we should have to choose? If it is the server, then CentOS is the best option. If it will be the Ubuntu desktop, then Ubuntu will be the best option. Now you need to understand what is the difference between the server and then desktop. Okay, so when you see my laptop, so it is installed with an operating system, right? See, nice graphical user interface and all, right? I was driving through it with the commands and with the simple button clicks and all, correct? Because graphical user interface is created. So on operating system, for example, this is what my machine, and inside that I installed the operating system, right? So on top of it, if I installed the graphical user interfaces, if I install the graphical user interfaces, right? So any graphical user interfaces, right? So any graphical user interfaces like this, maybe performance monitoring, whatever it is. If I install any graphical user interface like your Windows operating system, right? Then that is called as a desktop. That is called as a desktop. So always desktops will be installed with the graphical user interface on top of the operating system, right? So that is called the desktop. So the drawback of this one, this is very slow. The graphical user interfaces will be installed. They will take most of your hardware resources. Maybe your operating system is with the 4 GB machine, assume 4 GB RAM. Out of this 4 GB RAM, if 2 GB will takes for this graphical user interface, then your machine will obviously perform very slow. So that is the reason for any applications to be deployed, applications to be managed, applications to be maintained, like your Gmail application, your G Drive application, GTalk application. So these kind of applications never be installed on the desktops. Those will be installed on the servers. So why? Because on servers, there will be no graphical user interface. Rather, there will be a command line interface. Rather, there will be a command line interface. No graphical interface, command line interface. So this command line interface will speak to our operating system. And our operating system will use the system resources, right? So our operating system will use the system resources like this. So command line interface will speak to operating system. Operating system will use the system resources. Now it is just a small application with a small black screen. It don't have any graphical user interfaces. This won't take much memory, and it is too fast compared to desktop. So that is the reason in our real time also we will go with the servers, not with the graphical user interface. Now let us create one such server from the Amazon. So let us go to AWS console. So AWS management console. Don't worry, I will tell you how to create the subscription to this AWS management console, and how to get the missions and all. I will explain. But before that, directly I want to log in once to this management console and would like to showcase you like how the servers are available in the AWS. Now go here. I'm logging to this AWS management console. I'll explain how you can connect to it and how you can create the missions and all. I will explain. Okay, now let me go to this EC2. Let us go to this EC2. EC2 are the machines, basically servers, right? So EC2 are the servers. Now if we can go here, go to this instances. Now launch instances. I already have documented step by step I will give you, but before that, I just would like to showcase you this screen. See this? Amazon Linux to AMI. This is one more distribution created by the Amazon, like how the SUSE, OpenSUSE, Red Hat, RHEL, right? And then the CentOS, Ubuntu, how those are created. Similarly, Amazon is also created their own Linux operating system or distribution called Linux to AMI. And also we can see the other AMIs like Red Hat series, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, high availability. There are flavors based on the hardware size. See this SUSE, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. See this, it is a server. And then Ubuntu, Ubuntu server, right? And then you can see, scroll down, Debian. So this is the Debian distribution. Lot of distributions we have here. Again, Ubuntu server, again SUSE, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, OpenSUSE there, and SUSE is also there. And again, Ubuntu server. So lot of, what are all these you understood? These are all the distributions by default available in this Amazon AWS Management Console. That means these are all the machines. For example, I will choose the Ubuntu. When I entered, I can see this Ubuntu server. I can see this Ubuntu server 20.4. So when I select, what will happen, the Amazon is giving the readily available server to me by installing the Ubuntu distribution in that server. By installing the Ubuntu distribution in this server. Okay, so that means when you choose anything, for example, you choose one machine, Ubuntu, then Amazon is already giving you the machines with the already available versions actually. So you choose this Linux, Ubuntu. So it is giving you the machine. Inside that, it is giving you the operating system installed already. You no need to do anything. It is already installing. Sir, if we want to install, we can install. Yes, if we want to install in our local, also we can install. That process I will tell later on time. But what I mean to say is, when you go to Amazon and when you ask for the EC2 machine, then it will ask you are asking for one machine, nothing but kind of your laptop only, right? Your Amazon is giving you one laptop to work with it, kind of your laptop machine only. So when you are asking, hey Amazon, give me one laptop, it is asking, hey, which operating system you want in that laptop? It is asking us. That is what it is showing here. So with which operating system I want to prepare a machine for you is what it is asking. So based on the operating system that we have selected, it will prepare a machine for us and then give that machine for us to access. Right? So that is the beauty of this EC2 instances. Elastic compute cloud machines. EC2 machines what? Elastic compute cloud. That means what? Now I have taken 1 GB RAM machine. Just in case, 1 GB RAM machine I have taken. But in the future, I want 4 GB RAM. The future, I want to increase this to 4 GB RAM. Then usually what I need to do? Do I need to create one more machine? No, if I do that, I will lose my data here. So that is the reason these machines are elastic. That means what? I can stop this machine and increase the memory from 1 GB to 4 GB and then restart the machine. Then the machine will be reconfigured with the 4 GB RAM. That is called elastic compute cloud. So these machines are elastic compute cloud machines. So now let me directly create one machine, and then later on time I will tell you how you can create a subscription to this AWS console for free, and then how you can use the machines free. So we always have to choose the free tier eligible machines only. Now I will choose Ubuntu server 20.0.4 LTS. Latest Ubuntu is 22.04 LTS. But I will choose this 20.4 LTS. Why? Because this 22.04 LTS is recently, just a 1 month back, it is available. This version is available. So I was not tested any application on this version, but so many applications I was tested and I was deployed, and we were able to run successfully on this 20.04. So I have a very good confidence on this one. So I can select it. Now see, once I select, it is asking, this is your free. If you can take this T2.micro, you will get 1 CPU and 1 GB memory, which is free, meaning 750 hours per month is free for you. See, it is showing micro instances are eligible for the AWS free usage tier. For the first 12 months following your AWS sign up date, you get up to 750 hours of micro instances each month. Every month, 750 hours is free for you. Like that till first 12 months, he said. But even after 12 months also, they will give you the machines free for this 750 hours. But if you cross the 750 hours, then it will be a problem. They will be charged for you according to their rate cards. They have a charge rate cards. Accordingly, they will charge us. But in our real-time purpose, yes. So, but in our real-time purpose, these machines are not sufficient for us. But to practice the Linux, to learn the Linux, these machines are good enough for us, right? So let me create two machines. One is with the, let me create two machines. One is with the Ubuntu operating system distribution, and second is one the CentOS operating system distribution. So with these two, I will create two machines, and we will work with these two distributions. There is a little change in the commands, so you have to know what are all those differences, because while you are working tomorrow in your real time, you may get CentOS machines, you may get Ubuntu machines, because these two machines only most frequently used. Either of this one you may get. So you need to know the commands on both the machines, at least a small differences in the commands you should have to know. So that is the reason. I will go with either CentOS or Ubuntu. So Red Hat also we can install, but let us see, is it available for free? If not free, then I won't create, I won't install. Let us see. Red Hat is available for free or not. Just to scroll down. Yes, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 is available. Yes. So we can also choose this. This is Red Hat Linux Enterprise 8 and then CentOS. Both are having the same commands, same to same commands. There is no difference. But let us install these two machines. One is with the Red Hat, second is with the Ubuntu. CentOS or Ubuntu. So these are all same, no change. Commands are same. Fine. So first, let me go with the Ubuntu machine. So for that, what I will do is just let me click on this Ubuntu, and then let's go with this Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. And then just no need to do anything. Just click on configure instance details. You no need to do anything. Just click on add storage. There is a lot of thing behind it, but we will discuss all of them in our AWS sessions, coming up AWS sessions. But you just now click on next and give this tag. Tag meaning the name for our. So give the tag. Let me give the Linux practice mission underscore 7 p.m. So this is the mission name. Configure security group. The security group meaning now we are creating a mission, right? From where we can access this mission and how we can access this mission is explaining by the security group. So very beginning time, when you are creating the mission, choose the security group, and later on time you can use the same security group for further missions you're going to create during our DevOps and then AWS sessions.
So sir, single this security group will be used for all the other system that we will create in AWS.
Correct. We can use it. Either we can single.
So we don't have to create every time this security. Correct. We don't have to download this key.
Correct. That is true. That is true.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. So now let me create the security Linux group. So Linux security group 7 p.m. Okay, Linux security group 7 p.m. So this is what I will create. With this name I will create, and description also I will give. Right. So right now I will be able to access the mission through the SSH. What is SSH? We will discuss. Okay, I'll explain actually, but let me first create the mission. Then I will explain what is SSH and all. So review and launch. So whatever the configurations that we were chosen, so it is showing us all the configurations. And when I click on this launch button, it is asking us to create a new key pair. So why this new key pair? Because our AWS missions will be accessible using this private key and then public key concept. So there are two keys will be created. One is private key and second one is the public key. So two keys are created. So one is public key, second one is the private key. So the public key will be kept at the AWS side. So this public key will be kept at the AWS side. And then the private key will be given to us. So with the private key, we have to. So when we create a mission like this mission will be created with the private key and then the public key. So private key.
I didn't understand that.
Private key and then this public key. So public key will be kept at this mission, and the private key is given to us. So if you want to access this mission, first we have to give the private key to it, and then this private key will be matched with the signature of this public key. Both are matching, meaning the private key signature, which is already there at the public key, if both will be handshake, then only the mission will be accessible for you. Otherwise, you can't access this mission, isn't it? So that is the reason while creating the AWS mission, the AWS mission is asking us to create a key pair, private public key and then private key. Now let us give the key pair. Linux 7 p.m. private key. Okay, Linux 7 p.m. private key. Just let me download this one. So remember carefully, once you download this private file, keep it somewhere very securely. Because if you lose it, you cannot recover it from the AWS. You cannot recover it. You have to shut down your mission and then you have to create one more mission. Your all practicals, your all work, whatever you did will be gone. Gone meaning We can retrieve it in another way, but we cannot access that machine with this key. However, now I download it. Just let me launch the machine. Now the machine
Hello?
is, yes.
Hello, sir. Sorry for interrupting you. Sir, what is this key pair, RSA and this? One more.
So this key pairs or RSA is a public key algorithm. So this public key and then private key, both are called as the key pair. Now what will happen? This public key contains the algorithm, RSA public key algorithm. So just now we downloaded this file, right? Let me open this file. Let me open this file. So this is a private key. So this private key is generated using some algorithm. Similarly, there is a public. This public key is also generated using some algorithm, that is the RSA algorithm. Now this private key signature need to be matched with the signature of the public key here. When both will match, then the handshake will be happening. Got it? Huh? Fine. So now the machine is created. Let's go to this machine. Now the machine is running. So when the machine is running, for this machine, there is a network created, and hence the public IP address is created. With this public IP address, we can access our machine, and then we can play with the Linux commands, which are compatible with the Ubuntu operating system. So tomorrow, let us connect to this machine, and then let us play with the Linux commands. Very, very important, because each and everything you have to know when you connect to the Linux. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss about the Linux commands by connecting to this machine. And also tomorrow we will install one more machine with the Red Hat Enterprise Linux server. Okay, so that's all for today. Any questions for me? Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
Sir, just tell once again that key concept, RSA key pair concept, I am not understand.
Okay, I will discuss this key pair concept later in time, because if I start discussing it, maybe others might also get confused. When time comes, I will discuss. Okay. Right. So any questions for me? Okay. Thank you so much for your participation. See you tomorrow again at the same time. And then let us work with the Linux commands, various Linux commands we will start work with. Meaning how to study the Linux commands. What are all the Linux commands important to us? Let us see.